Hey guys, CW McCarthy here. Stay tuned for the next episode of the 406 Garage featuring YDS's very own pro driver and sponsor, Bruce Weiss. Hey guys, here we are at the home and garage of Bruce Weiss, pro driver and sponsor at YDS. Bruce, why don't you tell us a little bit about your car and who you are?
Hi CW, thanks for coming today, I appreciate it. 68 Mustang. I've had this car since I was 16 years old. High school, I was between my sophomore and junior years when I bought this car. It was a 289 4-speed car that I drove the wheels off of. Had moved to Denver and drove it, came back. I bought a pickup, put the car away and started working on it. Time went by and got stuffed in the corner and didn't do much with it. I'm one of the electricians that wired the track, and the day that I was pulling the wire in the timing tower, the cement trucks were coming down the road and starting to pour the guardrails, and I knew that at that point that the track was going to come to fruition. And I went home that night actually and started working on the car, pulled the car out and started tinkering with it again, and started racing 2004. I didn't get a chance. We were actually moving that summer and I didn't get a chance to bring the car out. 2003 is when the track opened, and 2004 is when I started to race full time every chance I could get out there. So
How did 2004 go for you?
It was, it was a learning curve deal. I mean, I broke stuff and relearning how to drive the car on a drag strip. I hadn't drag raced in several years. I drag raced up at Lewistown a few times and that. So, but from 2004 on, I mean, the car has progressed from being a small tire car going. I think my first pass ever at Lewistown was a 1411. Like 98 miles an hour, to last year running a 978 at 130, almost 137 mile an hour. So
you went from a 289. So what is this you have to the left of you here? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, this is the block. It's a 351 Cleveland. It's an iron head, iron block engine. This particular setup right now is actually the new stuff going on. I was just playing around with it.
Okay.
New motor coming up. So, but right now, currently the car is a iron head, iron block 351 Cleveland. It's a stroker. It's about a 380 inch motor. I run it. I launch it anywhere from 6,800 to 7,000, and shift at 8,000 and run it through the traps about 8,400.
Okay, so you say when you started, you had a small tire car. Now I see you got a big tire under here.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that transition.
Good friend of mine, Jack Whittington, kept after me, telling me I needed to make my car a big tire car, make it a real race car. We pulled it over to his shop, 2015, the winter of, and tore it apart and made it a big tire car. We did all the work ourselves.
Okay. So 2004 was your basically first year drag racing at a racetrack consistently.
Full time, yeah.
So here we are approximately 15 years later. Why don't you tell us how last year of racing, 2018, went for you?
I started the year out, the car was running awesome. Third pass, I had a lifter issue, which I've never had any engine issues, and since the first couple of years figuring out oiling systems in the Clevelands. Broke a lifter, and I chased my tail all year with issues like that. It was one of those years that, yeah, you know, I won a few races and went some rounds. I was actually fought every other weekend trying to for vying for points. I was up in the top 5 in points. So it makes you just want to keep going. I never threw the towel in at all, and just kept going. I think I ended up 9th or 10th in points for the year. It was a trying year, but it's one of those years where you just say it's not going to beat you.
I like it. So here we are. You had a pretty successful year overall last year. Top 10 in points. Here we are in the off season, looking at next year. So what are you doing in between seasons, between 2018 and 2019?
Most of us that run these cars tear them down, tear them apart, especially engines like this where you run them some RPM. I pull the engine down every winter just to look at it. This particular year, it's going to take a couple extra pistons and a couple rods to fix things up. I owied a few things when the lifter broke. It happens. That's drag racing and normal maintenance, changing some stuff that you didn't like on the car, those types of things. So wintertime is a good time to do all that stuff. Tear them down, look at them, make sure they're ready. I tear mine apart in the fall, make sure everything's good and get parts ordered. May comes a lot quicker than a guy thinks. So pretty soon you're scrambling trying to get ready for the race season.
With our tech inspection, with NHRA rules and regulations, we have to keep our safety stuff updated. Seat belts, roll cages have to be certified. We have a certification coming up on March 2nd. Tranny shield, stuff like that. Is there any of the safety equipment that you need to upgrade this year or get recertified?
Actually, there is. I was standing here the other night looking at some stuff, and a light bulb went off. I thought, holy crap, I got to look and see if my belts are, and so I've had to re-up belts. Window net's going to have to get done. Most of the safety equipment I've replaced in the last year or two. With SFI certifications, you've got to do that regularly. There's a certain amount of time you can run belts, certain amount of time I can run the bell housing, those types of things. So
perfect. So 2019 race season, looking forward, what are your goals for the 2019 season?
Goals are always the same. Fun for one thing. We got to have fun at doing this. And being with my family out there, my second family, it's just the greatest thing in the world. Winning a race, you always try and win a race. Points, I haven't really thought about points in the last few years, or up until the last few years. It's been one of my goals to become one of the top 3, if not the top guy. The other goal that I always set for myself every year is to go at least a 10th quicker than I've ever gone. That's just something I've always done since the first year in 2004. In 2004, I went a 12:85 very first pass. It was an 0:58 reaction time. Why do I remember that from 2004? It was because it was my very first pass down the track. I still have that time slip somewhere. I think I got it framed in the office, actually. So I've always tried to make some small goals like that. This year, I'd really like to vie for a points championship. That's kind of the ultimate goal of probably about, well, most everybody that's out there.
Alright, so one of the very unique things about your setup, besides yourself and who you are, because that's pretty unique, but you run a 5-speed in this car, where drag racing for ET is typically overpowered by automatics. Why don't you tell me a little bit about the difference between you and the automatic guys, your challenges, a little bit about that difference.
Let's go all the way back to when I was, I think I was around 8 or 9, 10 years old. One of the big influences on me, for one, to drive a Ford was my Uncle Jim. He was a pretty special guy. I spent hours and hours in his shop, and he always drove 4-speed cars. Everything he had was 4-speed. I was 8 or 9 years old, and I jumped in a 71 Cyclone 429 4-speed car. I couldn't reach the pedals hardly in the shift, and he let me drive it down a dirt road. It embedded in me that that's what you had to have, was a 4-speed. I always had manual shift cars when I was younger. This car was a manual shift car right when I bought it. It's what I'm comfortable in. Challenges, you know, I never saw it as a disadvantage or an advantage. I loved driving the car. That was that was the thing about it. Of course, you know, being that it was a 4-speed, I evolved from top loaders to race 4-speeds, which were Jericho's. This last couple of years, I went to a Liberty 5-speed. I've started to develop a little more horsepower, so you start to get to a point where you get beyond the design limits of certain transmissions. Transmission I'm running now is a Liberty 5-speed that all the top ProStar cars use. It's the same exact transmission. I'm not going to hurt that transmission, and then from there I can make it faster and quicker yet.
So Bruce, we talk about memories. In this car you talk about having a 289, running 14s in the quarter mile, upgrading to this new 5-speed opposed to the 4-speed, this power plant as opposed to what you had. What is your favorite, or what are some of your favorite memories of racing in the last 15 years?
You know, you talk about the first pass, things that I remember. Very first pass, I mean, I was so nervous I was about puking myself in the pits. To last year, you know, I've got so many great memories with our YDS family and the friends, the close friends to the just everybody that you know out there, the camaraderie, memories like Tyler Haynes' first win last year.
Yep.
You know, I was there for that. Those, you know, and the memories of I mean, I got so many types of memories out there that makes you want to go back out there. From fans coming up to you and talking to you, to guys' first wins to my first win, to watching junior parents stand there with their junior dragsters and watching their kid go down the track for the very first time. Those memories are just great because I stood there with my kids in the junior dragster, and you just, all of these emotions that come up when you're out at that track. It's, people come out and they look at us racers and they see us and it's kind of lazy, kind of, there's not much camaraderie. It doesn't look like we're talking much, but there's a hell of a lot of camaraderie that's going on out there. And the first win I had and all my friends standing there cheering for me. There's just too many memories to really say there's just one memory that is my favorite. There's just too many of them.
So you talk about there's a lot of your friends that race, and there's people you associate with at the track. Do you have a group of friends at the track that say closer that you're with, or I've got, I don't know about everybody else, but I have a close knit group of my closest friends. We do things beyond going to the track, that we've become that type. Jack Whittington's one, Scott West, Duff Gray, and Joe Rose, just to name a few. Those are kind of the guys we pit together. Last year when I had a little issue with the car, any one of those guys is over there wrenching on the car, and that's something about drag racing. You could have a starter issue and go up to the tower and say, hey, find somebody that's got a starter for me, and 2 minutes later they've got a starter in their hand. You might be racing them the next round, and that's the type of close-knit camaraderie that there is out at our track. And I believe it's pretty much any drag strip in the country. Drag racers are a kind of a special breed that way. Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree 100%. The racers are always willing. They always want to win, but they're always willing to help, no matter who it is. Make sure they make that next round.
Yeah, I line up with one of my good friends, like say Jack or Scott, or it doesn't matter who I line up with, but even my close friends, it's all great until we stage them up. My focus is way different when I start to hit the staging lanes. I start to think about that race and trying to kick his ass. And then when we get around and come around and shake hands, we're smiling and laughing and saying how great of a race that is.
Yeah.
Memory on that was a few years back. Scott West and I happened to be lining up in a time trial, and we don't normally try and race each other in time trials because you try and race everybody else. But I told him as I'm getting in the car, I says, I'm gonna throw lay a 002 on your guys' butts, and he says, oh yeah. And I launched the car, and as soon as I pulled fourth gear, it was still 4-speed then. I pulled fourth gear and I looked up and I saw it at 003, and I just started to laugh, And we turned out at the other end, and I'm getting my helmet off and getting my hat on, and I looked around, I couldn't see Scott behind me, and I heard his truck up next to me, and he was giving me a hand signal. So
All right, Bruce. So earlier you talked about your YDS family. And family is a very important word to all of us. We all have family that means different to us. And I can tell you that family to me means way more than the average guy. You know, coming from the track ownership point of view, that track wouldn't be open for me without my family. They support me, they go out there and work, they mow the grass, they paint bleachers, they paint the starting line. We're out there on Wednesday nights with torches, scraping the track, working for nothing, donating their time, donating their whatever they have, whether it's four-wheelers, trucks, fuel. At one time, when I first started the track, I had 17 family members working out there, which is, you know, insane to me that they support me so much in what I do. So when it comes to family, I know that there's sacrifices on both ends. What do you have to say, you know, about the family involvement?
Well, first of all, from all the racers to the McCarthy family, and you know, we all appreciate. We may not always act like it, but we do appreciate what you guys do for us. You know, and having a class facility to race at. So my family, you know, first and foremost, I wouldn't be able to do this without my wife's support and love. That she knows that it's something that it's just me. So and to have her there, you know, my very first win, she wasn't there that night, and then ever since then, she's been out to the track, and she's shared with me, you know, all of the ups and downs, and you know, and she's always out there making food and having the potlucks for us racers, you know, the guys we pit around, and you know, and having my kids out there and doing the junior thing, you know. It was very special for me to watch my kids grow. You know, we did it 4 years, and watch them go from, you know, little tykes basically to growing into men. That was part of their growing up. That stuff is it's immeasurable, and it's really a great thing. And you see that all throughout the whole track. You see families coming out there and you know, spending their whole weekends out there. It's really a family orientated sport, and it's just great to see the other kids grow up from being junior dragster racers. Now I race against some of the kids that were junior drivers, and now they have their cars and they're, you know, in the classes, and we race against them. So it's a great deal.
So we, you know, some of the times we talk about the juniors, you know, that's where everything starts, junior or high school program, and they turn into sportsman, pro, super pro, even quick 8 drivers. You know, these kids are pretty amazing when they come up. You know, they do that. But from the other side of it, it's a very family oriented sport where we have a lot of family stuff going on. And besides the racing side of it, we have the spectators, you know, when they come out and bring their families. You know, so when we talk about family overall, you know, I mean, do you have any words to people on the outside looking in, whether they're worried about like being intimidated by coming and racing or coming out and seeing the facility? You know, what do you have for the outsiders looking in?
You know, everybody gets nervous. I still get as many passes. I probably got 2,000 passes out there, minimum. I still get butterflies very first pass, you know, of the day or whatever. Come out, get involved with just seeing what is offered out there. Your ticket, when you get in, you can walk right into my pit and talk to me. I love that. I like talking to guys, gals. Whenever they come over, they ask questions. Don't be afraid to. And there's not one racer out there that wouldn't give their time, you know, a few seconds of encouragement, or come on out, grab your car and just take a few passes. we encourage it. We'd love to have more racers. More racers, the better the show, and the better it is for everybody. And you'll find out that it's really a family atmosphere, and really people that are just fun-loving people.
I would say that anyone else that wants to come out and race, we have a handful of racers and our staff that are more than willing to help you through the procedures. If you're not comfortable with going down the track, well, we have staff that's going to help you through the tech, and other racers that'll guide you through the the burnout, the staging, the exiting the track.
Absolutely. I'd jump right in with them, put a helmet on, and let them stage the car and talk to them and talk them through the process. We'll talk you through the process of coming in the gate, grabbing your tech card, figuring out how to fill that out, to take it to tech, to running it down the track. I mean, it's I'd like to infect more people with our love of and our passion of drag racing.
Well, it is a great passion, a great sport, and it's only going to get better. So
oh yeah, absolutely.
I think right now is a great time to get involved with it.
Any time's a great time. In fact, come over right now and help me put this engine in.
Like it. Well, Bruce, I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for welcoming us into your house and garage. A little bit of info, a little bit of stories.
Absolutely, CW. I appreciate you coming. Memorial Day weekend, Ed Randash.
Ed Randash Memorial Day is our opening weekend. We do a test and tune Friday night. The Ed Randash race, they bring out some of their, Ed's old cars. On Saturday, we run them down the track, and then we have our regular races on Saturday and Sunday.
I would encourage everybody to come out. There's not only being an Ed Randash, who was a local guy, a great guy that passed away a couple years ago. He was a drag racer, car guy. We're also having the Race to Read kids out. My car happens to be one of the mascots to Canyon Creek School, and those kids are reading right now, and the more they read, the more fun stuff they get, and they get tickets to the race. That is a great program. They're going to be there, and we're going to get to see some of the principals run down the track. I get to ride with one of them and show them how to race their car. So
no, that'll be fun. Getting more people involved in the kids. It's a great idea. We want to thank Del Socorro for putting all that together. We have 3 schools involved. You are one of the 3 cars that are going to be represented this year, and that's going to be a great time. So Memorial Day weekend, YDS season opener. You guys stay tuned for the next episode of 406 Garage, featuring another YDS racer.